Thanks so much for joining our advocacy presentation. My name is Chris Tippett, and I'm joining you live from sunny Littleton, Colorado. Our son Cooper was diagnosed with MPS 4A in 2013 when he was 16 months old. I became involved with the society in 2015. And at that point, the only thing I knew about advocacy was that it was probably something that happened in Washington, D.C. at a magical place called Capitol Hill. But with the relationships, education, and training I've gained over my years of involvement with the MPS Society, I'm now co-chair of the Advocacy Committee, proving that we can train anyone to be a successful advocate. This afternoon, I'm excited to share with you our important mission and how you can help. So, what have we been up to in 2020? It's a lot. Here are some highlights. First, we host monthly calls. We share relevant information regarding advocacy efforts at the federal level, how members are impacted, and action we can take to make our collective voice heard. We closely follow and discuss rare disease legislative advocates, RDLA calls for action, as well as pertinent National Organization of Rare Disorders, which is NORD news. This year, we again organized our Speakers Bureau to train our members and then advocate on Capitol Hill for Rare Disease Week in February. 48 MPS and ML advocates met with 76 different legislatures this year, and that was just in February. We had members meeting with their congresspeople in their hometowns via Zoom calls during Congress's summer session as well. Terry Klein has been carrying the flag for newborn screening advocacy by coordinating nominations for MPS 2, 4, and 6 to be included on the recommended uniform screening panel, the RUS. Our members submitted MPS-related language for inclusion in the 2021 appropriations bill. We've devised membership-wide action alerts for the Newborn Screening Saves Lives Reauthorization Act. The Advocacy Committee has also recently formed a COVID task force. This is a task force of volunteers from our community to give our community a voice in the equitable allocation of COVID-19 vaccines at every level of government. We did submit public commentary regarding the vaccine to the academies just this month. And following up to that, you may have seen we sent out membership-wide action alerts for upcoming COVID vaccine access. Here's what I need to share with you today: our goals, our history, and what you can do to make our voice heard. What your advocacy role as a parent, sibling, grandparent, friend, or a person affected by MPS and ML can be. Our goals, they're pretty cut and dry. First, we keep an eye on important legislation. We want to support, we need to know what to oppose, and we'll send out membership-wide action alerts to make our voice heard, to make sure everybody sends in their input from across the country to make sure that what we need happens. Next, as a society and as individuals, we collaborate with key decision makers, whether it's the NIH or the FDA, rare disease legislative advocates, Everylife, Global Genes, Pharma. We are there as a player where we need to be. A big thanks to Terry Klein for her continued role in this fast-moving space. We need to increase awareness. That's our next goal. We need to increase awareness with your legislators, with your kids' school, your family, you get it, everywhere. As the Advocacy Committee, it is also our goal to train and educate our members. We do this through our Speakers Bureau during Rare Disease Week, but we also have the ability to train and educate our members every single day with the Advocacy Toolkit. The Advocacy Toolkit is available in the Advocacy tab on mpssociety.org. There, you'll find we have videos to teach you how to effectively tell your story. We have sample letters to the editor. We have webinars for everything you need to advocate on social media and how to prep for advocate meetings on Capitol Hill. And last but not least in our toolkit, we have links to contact your House and state representatives when it's time to tell your story. So with all these tools, our next goal is to mobilize our advocates. Every time we go to Capitol Hill and every time we meet with a legislator in district, we always ask them to submit MPS and ML related language for the appropriations bill. What this does is encourages the NIH to prioritize research for MPS and ML. As you can see from the slide, we've had various levels of funding over the past 15 years. You can see we bottomed out at $6 million in research funding in 2014 and 15. But over the last 6 years, we've worked to get those levels back up to where they should be in relation to other disease groups. We will never stop asking for this language to be in the appropriations bill. There's a lot of text on this one. I'll get ready for it. All right. As an MPS society, we have a strong track record of impacting legislation. In 2011, we provided testimony to Commissioner Hamburg regarding needs and concerns of rare disease regulations. In 2012, the MPS Society submitted formal comments to the Agency for Healthcare Research and Quality's technical brief on ERT for lysosomal storage disease. This impacted the FDA Safety and Innovation Act. In 2013, the FDA accelerated approval processes included rare disease language. In 2014, we had several points of contact with pertinent legislation. First, the board of directors met with the FDA regarding the risk, benefit, and treatment tolerance of MPS. We also advocated for 6 other items: Patients' Access to Treatment Act, Achieving a Better Life Experience Act, TRICARE letter to support genetic testing coverage, Orphan Drug Tax Credit, Newborn Screen Saves Lives Reauthorization Act, and the Orphan Product Extensions Now, Accelerating Cures and Treatments Act, which is also known as the OPEN Act. In 2015, we supported the initiated step therapy letter, and we advocated for 2 acts: Ensuring Access to Clinical Trials Act and the Advocating Hope Act, otherwise known as the Pediatric Review Voucher. The Society in 2015 also provided members to participate in the Rare Disease Caucus briefing to the House of Representatives. They presented perspective of rare disease patient insurance coverage challenges. And the Society also responded formally to FDA toxicology guidance for ultra-rare diseases. Hang in there. As you get your feet wet in advocacy, these terms will become more familiar, and you'll start rattling off items like this as you become comfortable talking the talk and walking the walk. Getting closer to now, in 2016, we participated in the Cures Now campaign, and we submitted comments regarding the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services notice on the Medicare Part B drug payment model. In 2017, we advocated for Missouri's newborn screening, the Research to Accelerate Cures and Equality for Children Act, otherwise known as RACE, and the Orphan Drug Tax Credit again. We proposed adaptation of the Institute for Clinical and Economic Review's value framework for the assessment of treatments for ultra-rare conditions. In 2018, our super advocate, Stephanie Bozarth, wrote an opinion editorial for quality of life and bringing awareness to the federal government, considering state proposals to use cost effectiveness to limit formularies under Medicaid. It was a position letter to urge CVS Caremark on unacceptable discrimination against patients with disabilities. In 2019, our focus was on newborn screening and step therapy. But we are most proud of our work helping to reverse the deferred action visa to keep Isabel Bueso and her family in the US. You may remember our campaign to #SaveIsabel. We've made it to 2020. Our proudest moment of 2020 so far is the submission of the MPS 2 RUSP nomination. When that gets approved, MPS 2 will join MPS 1 on the list of disorders that the Secretary of the Department of Health and Human Services recommends for states to screen as part of their state universal newborn screening programs. But hear me loud and clear. This is where we need you. This is where we need every member to step up. Now is when we need you. It's been years of work to get this far, and our work is far from over. As we heard from Dr. Burton earlier, just because MPS 1 and 2 are on the RUSP, that doesn't mean every state adopts it and screens for them. We have to do work on a state-by-state basis to change legislation to either adopt the RUSP for that state or to add our MPSs one by one to each state's screening panel. Only 9 states use screen for every condition on the RUSP right now, and a total of 20 states screen for MPS 1. If this lights a fire in your belly like it does mine, I ask you to visit our virtual advocacy booth. You can do it now. I'll still be here talking when you get back, or you can do it when we're done here. You can sign up there to get invited to our monthly calls and take action to get newborn screening for MPS and ML for every baby born in the US. Because the one thing we can all agree on is that early detection leads to better outcomes for our kids. My son Cooper didn't have that early detection, but we have the science and we have the treatments to help. So let's get it done for the next generation. Here on this slide, we're showing off how each year during our visits on Capitol Hill, we bring more advocates and talk to more legislatures each year. In 2012, you'll see we were just a handful of parents. In 2014, we stood up and made our first annual advocacy effort with 21 advocates speaking to 32 different legislators. We've grown now this year, as I said, to 48 advocates and 76 legislators this year. Come join us next year. It'll most likely be virtual, so it'll be an easy commute to your congressman's office. Here, I also want to point out that we recognize legislators' hard work on our behalf with the MPS Champion Award. In 2014, we recognized Senator Graham, and in 2017, we recognized Representative Denham. As I mentioned before, we train our members to be confident advocates who walk the Hill. Here's a list of the trainings we've conducted, several which are available on the advocacy portion of mpssociety.org. I think that every new advocate's jumping off point is the How to Tell Your Story video that's on the website. Our strategic relationships with industry are hard work. We're always networking with NORD, Everylife Foundation, and other rare disease foundations. We had MPS representatives at the World Symposium, that's about lysosomal diseases, and many other conferences and summits. Terry Klein presented at the National Institute of Neurological Disorders and Stroke in Washington, D.C. on progress through partnerships. And she also attended the Everylife Rare Awards in December of 2019. The Society is working with state health departments to incorporate MPS 1 screening on their panels. Terry attended the Expanded Access Summit meeting in Washington, D.C. in 2020. In January, Terry Klein and Caitlin Blackman visited BioMarin in preparations for Rare Disease Week. They were asked to add their love locks to the Trees of Life sculptures there. Terry and Caitlin's love locks on the tree sculptures are symbolic of the MPS Society's support in research and raising awareness for the MPS community. It's a very special gesture. So let's talk about what's next. September, right now, is Newborn Screening Awareness Month. To celebrate, why don't you ask your senator to co-sponsor the Newborn Screening Saves Lives Reauthorization Act? It's really easy. Sign up for the advocacy committee, or just put your name on the list in our virtual advocacy booth and put a note on there that says you want the link, and I'll get that to you. I can also send you RDLA's information for the Newborn Screening Boot Camp and the September 22nd Rare Disease Congressional Caucus briefing. That's going to be featuring, of course, newborn screening advocates and experts, because what is it? It's Newborn Screening Awareness Month. Other things you can do right now is find out if your state screens for MPS 1 and or your particular condition. If they don't, take action to get it implemented. So let's look onward to 2021. Our COVID task force will be ongoing. Also ongoing is getting all the MPSs added to the RUSP. We plan to submit the nomination for MPS 7 by the fourth quarter of this year or first quarter of 2021. We will participate in rare disease advocacy on the Hill or on the phone the first week of March. And as I've mentioned, we will continue to advocate for newborn screening at the state and federal levels. I thank you so very much for your time today, and I look forward to advocating with you in the very near future.